how to prepare a pumpkin from scratch. Hello, welcome to another episode of Bville Live. I'm Christina Neely, I'll be your host today, and today we're going to be preparing pumpkin from scratch. I have two small pumpkins that were in my Brady Farms basket that I got 2 weeks ago. I'm expecting another load today, so I'll be uploading a lot more recipes. So I was going to make a pumpkin pie with these, but time got out of hand, so I decided to do something else with them. Pumpkins are a squash from the squash family, so you don't have to just use them for pumpkin pie and jack-o'-lanterns. They're also really good to use as a side dish or as a souffle or even a dessert. So what I'm planning on doing with these pumpkins is I'm going to cook them up first, and I'm going to show you how to prepare them, and then I'm going to mix them with some carrots, and I'm going to make a pumpkin carrot crisp out of them for dessert tonight. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you wash your pumpkins up, which I've already done, and then you're going to cut them in half. You need to get the seeds out. We're also going to use the seeds. So I have my cutting board. I need to remove the stem first. That'll make it easy to get it out, so you want to make sure you have a good sharp knife. And if your big knife is too hard for you to use, you can just use a small knife like this and cut around that stem. So I'm going to do that right now. You could also use your pumpkin carving tools if you bought a set. That would be a good thing to use. They have those little sawing knives, but any knife will do. So you're just going to cut around the stem, and you just simply do that by poking in around the stem in several places, and then it should come out pretty easily. Okay, so I've cut around, as you can see, I just poke, and then you just wiggle the top out. So I have some seeds in there, and I'm going to save the seeds because I like roasted pumpkin seeds. And then the rest I'm just going to throw away. The stem I'm going to throw away, not the pumpkin. And I'm going to try and get as much pulp off of that as you can. Remember, throw this in the garbage pail. It will not go down the garbage disposal. Alright, so for the pumpkin seeds, once you collect them all, you'll put them on a cookie sheet, rinse them off real well, sprinkle them with a little olive oil and salt, and bake them in the oven. So we'll do that later. But first I want to get my pumpkin cleaned out and cut. So the easiest way to do this is like cooking spaghetti squash in the microwave, which is how I'm going to do it. If you never cooked spaghetti squash in the microwave, it's a great way to do it. So you can just pull these out by hand. You can use a spoon too, but it really isn't necessary. And you can clean these out while your pumpkin is cooking in the microwave. You can also bake the pumpkin in the oven. It takes longer, and I really want to get started with this today, so I'm going to do it in the microwave. So you get your seeds in there. Sometimes fly all over the place. And then you're left with a cleaned out pumpkin that looks like that, okay? And then we're going to take our dish that we're going to have microwave safe dish. So I just have a regular Pyrex dish. I'm going to put it face down in here with the other half, cover it with a lid, and pop it in the microwave for about 5 minutes at a time. I'm going to check it until it's tender, and then I'll bring it out. So I'm going to clean up the other one and pop it in the microwave, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, I cleaned off my pumpkin seeds. I put them through a strainer, picked out all the pulp, and I'm going to make them two ways. Half of them I'm going to use salt on because that's just going to be a snack for tonight. And then the other half I'm going to use cinnamon and sugar. And the reason I'm using cinnamon and sugar on these, you can either snack them, but I'm going to use them as part of my pumpkin carrot souffle. You're going to pop that in a 350 oven, and we're going to put that in for about 20 minutes. If they need a little bit more baking time, you can put a little bit more in. And we're going to turn that on and pop it in, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I've cooked up my pumpkin in the microwave. I shredded it with a fork, And now I'm going to add my carrot. I just got my fresh installation of vegetables from Brady Farms today, and I had a lot of fresh carrots. So the carrots are fairly large, so I'm just going to use one. I'm going to cook it up in a small Pyrex container in the microwave, and then we'll add our toppings. This is how the pumpkin seeds turned out. You can see these are the ones that are covered with cinnamon and sugar, and these are my salted ones, and they are delicious, and we're going to also use those in our dessert. And I'll show you what that looks like after I put everything together. Alright, so I'm going to cut the ends off of my carrot. And then, because I'm going to actually be adding this to the casserole, I'm going to cut it in half and then cut it in quarters, and I'm going to chop those quarters down. So they'll be slightly chunky in the dessert, but that's okay. The carrots are nice and sweet, so it'll add a nice flavor to it. I'm also going to add nuts to it and a little bit of maple syrup, and it is going to be delicious. So I do cook up the vegetables first, so then when they go into the oven to bake, it's really just to bake in the flavors of the maple syrup and the nut topping. So it's not going to bake a whole long time in there. So for that reason, you want to make sure that your vegetables are fairly well cooked before you add them in there. And for the carrots, I mean, it's okay if they're a little bit on the crunchy side. It'll just add to the flavor. Okay, so that one big carrot made all those chunks. I'm going to put that in my casserole. I'm going to heat that up in the microwave. And I'm going to give that about 2 minutes should be enough. Alright, so while that's heating up, I'm going to start to add some of my other things to the casserole. So I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. Since this is a dessert, you know, you want it to be flavorful and a little bit on the sweet side. So vanilla always goes well. So we add about a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I'm also going to add some cinnamon and sugar. And this is the cinnamon and sugar that I put on toast and things that I put cinnamon and sugar on, like the seeds. And then I'm also, I'm going to make a topping, and I'll put that together and show you what that looks like. I'm going to do that in the food processor. Okay, my carrots I cooked for 2 minutes in the microwave. I'm going to add those to the shredded pumpkin, to which I had put the cinnamon and sugar on. Okay, and then the other thing that I'm going to add to that is I have about 3/4 of a cup of mixed nuts here, and I make my own combination because I don't like a lot of the mixed nuts. They have too much salt on them. This is walnuts, pecans, almonds. I'm allergic to peanuts, so I don't put peanuts in there, but you can. I put cashews in there, golden raisins, and regular black raisins. So I'm going to put half of the mix in my food processor, okay, and then the other half I'm going to just mix in to the crisp, the dessert, the base of the crisp, okay. And the reason I do that is because I like to have kind of a chewy, crunchy dessert, and I think that's going to add a nice texture to it. So you're going to have the sweetness of the carrots and the pumpkin, and you know, you'll bite into an occasional white or black raisin, and you'll have a little bit of the crunchy nuttiness in there. So that's what it looks like when it's all mixed up. Okay, now for my topping. Okay, so I put the nut mixture in here, and I use this a lot for my crisp toppings. And then you're going to add about I eyeball it, so it's about a cup of oats, Okay, old-fashioned oats, less processing the better. Okay, and then you're going to add about 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar to that, and that's going to give it a nice flavor. It's about 1/3 of a cup. I eyeball everything from cooking over the years. I don't really need to measure, and I can pretty much tell from what I'm pouring out what the measurements are. Now, you can also add some butter to this. I'm not going to. I am going to add some maple syrup to drizzle on the top, but you can add butter to that corn bowl as well. So I'm going to turn it on so it's going to blast out for a minute. Okay, and then you're going to be left with this fine mix that you just pour over the top. Okay, it looks like that. It's all ground down. Just going to pour that over the top. And I kind of push that around. And I pat that into the pumpkin and the carrots. Now I'm going to take my maple syrup. I mean, you can use table syrup, but I prefer not to use the artificial. That's just corn syrup. It's not very good for you. Okay. And then I'm just going to drizzle that on. So if I had to guess, I guess I'm pouring on about 1/3 of a cup there. And it's just going to drizzle in there. I'm going to take a knife and poke some holes so it kind of goes down through the topping. And kind of smooth it around. And that's going to make a delicious topping. And then, for the last part, I'm going to take this, that syrup's delicious. Get that off my counter. For the last part, I'm going to take my pumpkin seeds that I toasted in the oven that have the cinnamon and sugar on them. And they are delicious to eat, and I'm just going to sprinkle those on top. The other half that are just salted, that I salted earlier, I'm just going to use for snacking. So I guess you could call this an inside-out pumpkin because it's got the inside on the outside now. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. So I'm going to put that in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. And that should cook up quite nicely, and I'll show you the final product when we're done. Okay, the pumpkin carrot crisp is done. I took a nice heaping scoop and put it into a serving bowl. And I'm putting on some non-fat Greek vanilla yogurt on top. And we have some more pumpkin seeds that we can sprinkle the salted ones, just a pinch on the top of that. And that's ready to serve. That is going to be a delicious treat for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time on Bville Live.